children. I'll be an immigrant mom. I'll be the immigrant mom. Brave woman.
Sorry, I'm able to still go through this process.
Brave woman, raising brave children. I'll be an immigrant mom. Bow to the immigrant mom. Brave woman, raising brave children. I'll be an immigrant mom. Bow to the immigrant mom. Brave woman.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. There are already people. Onyinye says we're ready. Yes. Welcome, everybody, to the Immigrant Mom Show. Hi, Claudette. Thank you for joining. How is everyone doing? Happy Thursday. It's already been 2 Thursdays since we've been here. I hope you guys are doing fine. I am recovering from a cold, so you're going to see the mellow side of Excel this Thursday. But I promise you, by God's grace, I will be back up and lively in the next 2 Thursdays. So you know the drill. We are going to play some music and just let people come in. Share. This is the time to share on your timeline. If I could brave a cold to be here today, is because we have a very, very important guest with us who has a story that we will learn like we normally do a whole lot. So go ahead and share on your timeline while I do the same, and we'll get started.
Didn't know how she was find a way, the mystery of a woman, a savior in a time of need, the bravery of a woman. In your time of need, she does the deed, the magic of a woman, woman, woman. A warrior is a woman, woman, woman. A savior is a woman, woman, woman. A warrior is a woman, woman, woman. A savior is a woman, yeah, 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 When a man will cry, a woman smiles. The shoes have walked 1,000 miles. The sticks of stone can break her bones. She welcomes all her friends and foes. When her spirit's down, she has no time to frown. A warrior is a woman, woman, woman. A warrior is a woman, woman, woman. A savior is a woman, woman, woman. A warrior is a woman, woman, woman. A savior is a woman. Wonderful, wonderful.
Hey guys, thank you guys for joining. We normally are just giving a couple minutes for other people to join us. Thank you. Once you join, please let me know where you're watching from. I'd like to give a shout out to you. I know Dennis is here. Ada is here. Thank you, Ada. Claudette. Thank you to everybody who is joining. Appreciate your presence. We're going to get started because we like to leave 10 minutes at the end so people can ask our guest, Joy, some questions about her book, about her experience. If this is your first time on this platform, this is the Immigrant Mom Show. The Immigrant Mom Show is a storytelling platform for women who are raising children in a culture that they did not grow up in. We're highlighting the bravery of that woman who is parenting in unfamiliar territory. We admit that it is daunting to be a mother in and by itself because it is a role that does not come with a manual. Talk less of being a mother in a culture you did not grow up in. There are a lot of things that, as an immigrant mom, we may be oblivious to. The price that is paid because of that oblivion sometimes is as devastating for the child than it is for the mother. So, this platform is bringing together women to tell their story so that other people can learn from another woman's experience, to tell her story so we can applaud and celebrate her bravery, to tell her story, to say, we see you, we recognize you. We have events coming up. We have a group on Facebook. Find out and join us because we have a brunch that's coming up in Dallas, Fort Worth, September 11th. And we have just 50 spots available because of the pandemic restrictions on having a certain number of people in a certain place. We are over 500 members. So the link for registration will be out tomorrow. As fast as you can, go ahead and register because we have just 50 spots for the brunch. And if anybody knows Excel and knows the spirit that I defend as one of inclusion, one where I say everybody matters, everybody, irrespective of your creed, your tribe, your religion, you matter. And when we're coming together at a brunch like that, it's going to be a lovely time of women just encouraging each other, building each other up, learning how to navigate our careers, our businesses, and owning your voice. I have said so much, and I would like us to get started. If you're just joining us, please go ahead and share. I do not want any woman to miss what's going to be talked about today. All right, so let me have our intro ready and we will get started. A child's sense of security is built by when he or she feels a healthy sense of belonging and acceptance. So, what happens when a child is made aware that they are not accepted or wanted or even maltreated? This type of childhood wounds run deep and open the door to many unfortunate events. Joy Iweka, in her book Unveiling Joy, reveals her tear-jerking story of a childhood filled with memories of pain, rejected by her mother, maltreated by her aunt's husband, bullied, left alone, and the list goes on. I asked Joy, what memory from her past still brings tears to her eyes? And she had this to say.
Talking about my childhood or my really terrible marriage, you name it. But the one thing I really can recall is from my childhood. I guess usually the wounds from your childhood are usually the last to heal. I remember living with my aunts and being bullied by this young boy who was with them. It was those are really some of the darkest times of my life. Those are the times I actually considered suicide because I just felt as though, I mean, here was I, an 8, 9-year-old child, being bullied for no reason and not seemingly having a way to get out of it. So, yes, I would say that is easily one of the times I remember.
Someone is saying that I need to pause and play again. Is there is something going on?
Echo.
There was an echo.
Yeah, it's echoing.
All right, give me 1 second, guys. With technology, we expect the unexpected. Let's see if I can resolve that. Says there's a double echo. That's weird. All right. Let's try one more time and see if it's going to go through.
A child's sense of security is built.
All right. So tell me, Sister Joy, if you could still hear the echo.
Okay.
When he or she feels a healthy sense of belonging and acceptance. So what happens when a child is made aware that they are not accepted or wanted or even maltreated? This type of childhood wounds run deep and open the door to many unfortunate events. Joy Iweka, in her book Unveiling Joy, reveals her tear-jerking story of a childhood filled with memories of pain, rejected by her mother, maltreated by her aunt's husband, bullied, left alone, and the list goes on. I asked Joy, what memory from her past still brings tears to her eyes? And she had this to say.
Talking about my childhood or my really terrible marriage and you name it. But the one thing I really can recall is from my childhood. I guess usually the wounds from your childhood are usually the most to heal. But I remember living with my aunts and being bullied by this young boy who lives with them. It was those are really some of the darkest times of my life. So at the times I actually considered suicide because I just felt that here was I, an 8 9 year old child being killed for no reason and not even having able to get out of the face. So yes, I would say that is easily one of the times I remember I just like cringe. But and also coincidentally, that was when I was writing my book. That part was one of the major parts I just couldn't get past. Every time I tried to end those moments, I always found out. But eventually, I was able to go past it and move on to
In her book Unveiling Joy, Joy goes more in depth about incidences of abuse she suffered. She was raped, outrightly rejected by her mother, suffered domestic abuse at the hands of her ex-husband, and a whole lot more she details in her book. But seeing the woman that she is today, I could not help but ask, what if these experiences have shaped her to the core strength that she displays today?
childhood abuse, neglect, um, feeling of being unloved. These were some of the things that gave me the strength and the resilience I would say I have today. Just the fact that I can look my detractors in the eye and say, you know what, you tried, but you did succeed. So those were some of the things that gave me the wings to keep pushing to just be somebody, be a better person for myself.
Little Joy knew too much pain even before she could know about the outside world. She often wondered how scary life was, what the future held for her. But if she can look back now in time from where she is as a proud mom of two beautiful girls, a parent coach, a child advocate, a licensed registered nurse, what will she tell little Joy?
Oh, if I could talk to 16-year-old Joy, what would I say to her? Hmm. Well, say to her, you know what, Joy? There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and you're doing well in spite of your circumstances and the rotten lemons that life offered you. You're doing really well. So you just keep doing what you're doing. You just keep being the fighter that you are, and you're going to be victorious at the end of the day. That is what I'll say to 16-year-old me.
Today, join me and Joy here on the Immigrant Mom Show as she shares her story of how her journey brought her to the United States as an immigrant mother. Join us.
Hi, Sister Joy.
Hi.
Thank you so much for accepting to come onto the Immigrant Mom platform. I could see the smile on your face while you were watching this video. You had no idea what I was going to do with it.
No idea whatsoever.
But I hope you're pleased with the recount. And do you feel like that I did justice to that story?
Yes, I think you did.
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. A lot of people don't know who you are. I would just like for you to introduce yourself to our audience, those who would like to know who is Joy.
So, hi everybody. It's a pleasure to be here this evening with you guys, and I hope you're all having a great evening. So, my name is Joy Iweka, Joy Nene Iweka. I was born just after the Biafran War, just as the Nigerian Biafran War was wrapping up, mothered by a Biafran mother, well, birthed by a Biafran mother and fathered by a Nigerian father. I didn't know who my father was growing up. No one would tell me. And it was almost like it was some taboo that wasn't supposed to be talked about. So that was the environment I grew up in, just not knowing that who the other part, what my other heritage was. You know, it was pretty tough. Went through a really harrowing experiences growing up. Um, So fast forward to now, I live in Chicago, Illinois, with my two children. I have two gorgeous daughters, and I live here with them. Um, well, they are. I'm an empty nester now, I would say, because they're both in college. So yes, so and I'm also a registered nurse. Recently got my license to practice nursing in the state of Illinois, and I'm a child coach, domestic abuse advocate. I live a pretty simple life, not giving to, well, I wouldn't say I'm an extrovert or an introvert, but I'm kind of pretty subdued in my activities, if I would say so.
Well, thank you. I mean, you have condensed so much, in a couple sentences. And that's fair because, you have a very elaborate story, a very elaborate journey, which when I picked up your book, I was just going page after page. I slept very late reading through your story. For those who don't know, you're an immigrant mom today because things were bad, bad in Nigeria. At home for you as a woman, just paint the story of what brought you here. Because, immigrant moms, we come for different reasons. Some people become moms already here, some people migrate with their children. What was it that brought you to America? And just tell us what happened.
So basically, I was going through a rough patch in my marriage. The typical domestic abuse that is standard with many African homes. And it got so bad that at some point I was practically shutting down, as in emotionally, physically, so I knew I needed to go. I knew it was time to go. I knew that if I had stayed on, if I hadn't moved, I do not think I would have still been alive. So basically I would say that what brought me here primarily was just fleeing an abusive environment and wanting to do better for my children, because you cannot raise children in a toxic environment. You just
Right.
can't. You can't. And I knew that firsthand.
Right.
So that was my motivation to just leave and be the best I can be for my children, and also be alive for them, because you need to be alive to raise children, to raise wholesome children. You first of all have to even be alive.
Right.
So yeah, that was what led me to this path.
So Claudette is asking where to find the book. Claudette, I put in a link in the comment section um, where you can find the book for those who need to, I think, pre-order the book. The book is going to be released in August, and the book is a recount of your story. I want you in a way that you can summarize it. Just walk us through. You told us a little bit. You didn't know your dad, but you also mentioned in the book, without giving too much out, because I would love for people to hold that book in their hands and read it too. Your mom saying, "I tried to get rid of you and I couldn't," to living with your aunt. Just walk us through your childhood trauma and how that drove you into an abusive situation in marriage, then led you to America. Take us, link the dots for us.
Okay, so without revealing too much, because I want you all to read the book, like you just said. Um, Growing up, knowing that you were not wanted, like I always felt it, like I'm not wanted. I didn't have to be told. There was always an aura, you know. And my first memories were memories with my grandparents. Those are the first parents I knew. They were okay. But then my mother was this woman who would show up every now and again, sometimes every other weekend, and always had this distant look, like she didn't want to be around me. So that was the environment I grew up in. And then about the time I turned 7, her sister took me away to live with her. And things just went downhill from there. I suffered a lot of physical abuse, emotional abuse. Um, then from then on, having to fend for myself, having to go, like when I had to go to the university, no one, usually you have your child like, oh, you write these things, this exams are leading to the higher institution in Nigeria. We call it JAMB. I don't know what you call it in your country. We call it JAMB. And I had to do all of that by myself, traveling to my first choice of university, where eventually this professor that was supposed to help me get into this school stole my innocence. That was my very first experience with sex, and I was actually raped. And then, all those other things that led me to a bad marriage, and then having to leave all of that and flee to America with my two children, and vowing that the things that I went through, that my daughters would not go through them. So when people would ask me, "Oh, how come you're so good? How come you're so good in motherhood?" I said, "Listen, there's no blueprint to motherhood. The one thing that has helped me in this journey is being to my daughters what nobody was to me. I just didn't have the blueprint or the love or the support. So I vowed that I was going to be everything. I was going to give my children everything that they didn't have, that I didn't have."
And we're going to go into depth because I feel there's a lot there. I know the end of the story because not the end of the story, but the result of the story, one of the results that I would like for you to talk more about your parenting style. But before we get into that, Joy, I see this book as an act of courage. So many people are enduring what you have endured, but because they don't want to unravel their family, they have stayed with a lot of stuff bottled up in the inside. How did you find courage to talk about the dysfunction that was in your life as a child?
You know, I hurt a lot, and during that process, I knew I needed therapy, but I couldn't afford one. So every now and again, I'll get on Facebook and I would like just share snippets of my story here and there. I was careful not to reveal too much. Every time I did that, somebody would come out, someone would say to me, "Oh, your story really touched me," or. So I was like, maybe I should chronicle this. Maybe I should actually just put this in writing, make it into a book. And then one day, my younger daughter said to me, "You said, Mom, you know what? You need to write a story in your lifetime." And that was a light bulb. I said, "She's right," you know. So I wrote this book thinking about all the women that are out there that were or have been in my situation that just didn't have the courage to get out of it. And I thought that if I wrote this and it came out, it would give them the courage to follow my footsteps. So
Would
that
you
was
say,
the vision.
would you say it has unrattled your family somewhat?
Um, Family in terms of my immediate family or the extended or
The extended, like your mom's siblings, your mom, the people involved, the characters in the story.
I I would like to say that I don't know, but you've read the book, right? You read it cover to cover. So,
Yes. Yeah.
but from the few people that have written the book, the one thing they always told me was, Joy, your story is devoid of bitterness. You didn't write the book from a place of revenge or bitterness or anger, which is the truth. I didn't write the story to shame anybody or to paint anybody or to make anybody look bad. I wrote the story to bring healing and encouragement to people that are hurting. So back to your question, they haven't read the story. I'm assuming that when they do read the story eventually, they might not like the fact that I wrote it. But at the same time, I knew it was something I needed to do. I knew that, like my daughter said to me, you need to write this story in your lifetime. So I'm hoping that when they do get the book in their hands, they wouldn't take it personally. And also, I tried as much as I could to change the names of the people I felt that the book was putting in bad light, just so to protect
The
their
identity.
their identity.
Right, right. And that leads me to the question of, do you feel like you found closure about, with your mom? Is she late? Is she still here? How are you emotionally in that regard?
Um, no, I haven't found closure, but
Mm.
like I said, I'm not bitter. I'm not, I've come a long way. It's been a really long journey. I've learned to live with it. I've learned to live with the pain. I've learned to like even justify, you know, some of the things that happened to me. So no, I haven't found closure, but I've come a long way. It's a journey. It's a lot of times these childhood traumas are things that never ever go away. I
Mm.
have a 6-year-old cousin who still talks about the things that happened to him in childhood, and every time he would share those with me, I would see him getting emotional. So that's made me realize that this is probably going to be a lifetime journey. Like when you have a chronic illness, it just
Yeah,
never goes away. You have to learn to manage it.
right,
So
right.
this is what it is. A chronic illness that
Mm.
I have to live with.
Right. And I like the way we're whetting, everyone's appetite about the book, because if you have not gotten it, you're wondering what's in that book. There's a lot in that book to learn from. From your own standpoint, what do you feel like is your most favorite chapter or story or stuff that you put in the book? What's your favorite?
The first couple of chapters were really dark. Those chapters where I was dealing with childhood rejection, abuse, bullying, abandonment, rape, violence. So when I had to review the book review the book, I always avoided those chapters. So you know what my favorite chapters are? My favorite chapters are actually when I got to America with my children. And some of my fondest memories, believe it or not, are the times I drove a taxi in the city of Chicago. Those are the chapters I'll read over and over again for some reason. Those are the chapters that I would call them my happy place. The
Right.
experience I had with Chicagoans. By the way, did you know that Chicagoans are really nice people?
They are. I lived in Chicago for but yes, they are. Yes, they are. I always say that is the most beautiful city that I lived in because it's well planned out and everything. I was gonna ask you on, or to say, for me, we're talking about favorite chapter. What stood out the most for me in that book is where you made a statement that resilience is, it's almost like the way you're taught resilience through the experiences of your life, because in today's day we throw out resilience, resilience, resilience. Resilience happens when life knocks you down and you pick yourself up, and you've been knocked down over and over again, and here you are. Talk to us about how you found the drive, Joy, to go back to school to be a nurse. I missed everything that you've been through.
When I got here with my children, my primary preoccupation was just having my children live the American dream. Like, they are gifted children, obviously, and they didn't have that many opportunities in Nigeria. So what I was preoccupied with initially was just getting them the best I can get for them in terms of education and good life. So the first few years of our stay here, that was all I did. But then after a while, I said, you know what? I've put my dreams in the back burner, and these girls are now like soaring. They're like in these great schools. It's time for me to do me. So that was when I started thinking about, of course, one of the reasons why I drove a taxi in Chicago, which a lot of women did have. I mean, how many? I'm not talking about Uber. I'm talking about taxi, as a yellow taxi. I'll get in late every morning. I did that for 8 years.
Wow.
But because it was the only thing I could do that could afford the kind of life I wanted for my children in terms of paying for the piano lessons and or whatnot, and then being there for them when they came back from school, and just being a mother. So that was why I went into taxi driving. So I knew it wasn't a career, it wasn't something I wanted to do for too long. But as soon as I got my children to the level where I needed them to be, I said, you know what, it's time to birth a career for myself.
Right, right. I so much admire how, because I've heard your story before when Sister Lola interviewed you and then read the book, and the closeness you have with your girls. How were you able to parent differently from how you were raised? And just talk to mothers who have children that maybe did not have this encounter, so we're laxed about our parenting. How did you do it? Teach us, in other words, how you were able to do it with your girls who are now in Ivy League schools, which we'll get to. But let's talk about your parenting style. What was your approach?
Honestly, motherhood does not come with a blueprint. It doesn't matter if you came from the most loving home or not. You just don't know. It's pay as you go, quote and unquote. So I didn't have a clue. But the one thing I knew, I wanted for my girls was to protect them from all of the life's ugliness that I was exposed to as a child. So the first thing I thought about was I've got to give them tons and tons of love. I've got to give them tons and tons of confidence, you know. So everything I lacked, I intentionally made sure that my girls wouldn't lack the same thing. Just like, you know, I don't know if you know the story about two identical brothers whose father was a drunk. Then one turned out really well and the other one did not so well. And then they asked them, so how come you turned out this way? And then one said to them, oh, how else would I have turned out? Look who my father is. And this other person said the same thing. So it's almost like the case of looking at the glass as half full or half empty. So
Right.
for me, I decided that I was going to take all of the pain and the rejection and the dejection and the negativity that life threw at me. I was going to just take them, form them in a ball, and use them as a momentum to propel my life and the life of my daughters forward.
Right. So
So,
when you got to Chicago as an immigrant mom, how did you know to get involved, register them in piano lessons, make sure that they were, you had affirmations for them? How did you know to do those things that prepared your kids for the educational success that they now have?
so I would say 50% faith or happenstance or whatever, destiny, whatever you choose to call that, and then 50% work. So every morning when I woke up, I'm serious. Every morning when I woke up, when I was raising them, I always said, you know what? I'm going to be looking out for opportunities. There's got to be something out there. There's got to be an opportunity that I'm going to seize today. So, for instance, the piano class, just, I didn't plan it, so to speak. It came. And then when it came, I recognized that opportunity and I took it. This woman walked in and she walked into where I used to work as a caregiver, one of my earlier jobs. And then we got talking, and she said, I'm a piano teacher. And I'm like, oh, really? I'd like my kids to learn the piano, but I probably can't afford you. And she was like, no, here's my number. Call me, let's talk. I recognized that was an opportunity and I seized it.
Right.
And then every time my children went to school, I always like followed up with their teachers, listening for, so what can we do? Where can I go? What's the next thing? So what I'm trying to say is, in as much as I did all of these things with my children, I also would admit that the opportunities came my way. If they hadn't come, God brought them. Let me put it that way, because I'm a believer, and
Right.
I don't think we'll be here without God's grace. So those were the opportunities I seized, and what I'll tell mothers is be intentional. Every morning when you wake up, look out, be watchful. Those opportunities always come, and be ready so that when they do come, you make sure you seize those moments.
And what I'm learning from your story, from the book, and from what you're sharing right now is you had a vision of where you wanted these girls to be and who you wanted them to be, not particularly trying to control the outcome, but wanting the best for them. And because you had that vision, you were looking for opportunity. And that's where the intentionality comes from, which is a very solid point that I'm learning from, that as immigrant mothers, we should have such a high dream for our kids. Because if we don't think that they will be as great as they will be, we will not seek the opportunity for them. In your book, you say your children were reading by 3. Was there anything in particular that you did to encourage them right from that early age?
Yes. So my first daughter had what I'll call, she just had an incredible memory. She would go, we enrolled her in school when she was about maybe 16 months, something like that. You know how we enroll kids in school early back home. And then she would come home and practically regurgitate everything her teacher said. So I was like, I think this child is gifted, you know? So I said, you know what? I'm gonna try and see maybe if I start to like introduce her to books and maybe and she caught on. And then for her sister, she was 9 months old when she would, how children would pick up books and shred them, but she wouldn't shred the books. She would pick them up and just flip through them and look at the pictures all day. Sometimes they are turned upside down, but she had a fascination for books. So I said, oh, this one likes books also. Maybe I should also, you know, so I started like let me test the water. And then when I started to introduce them to reading and all that at such a tender age, they were catching on. So I just continued. Like I said, my dream was to be that mother to my children that nobody was to me. So everything I had to do to propel them, encourage them, groom them in the way that they should be. I threw everything. I threw my life into them, threw everything I had into them.
So this is one question everybody I know who knows your story is waiting for you to answer. How did a woman with your background, your circumstance, come to America, a single mom with her two children, now have them in Ivy League schools in America? As immigrants, that's what most of us dream about, that our children will go to the best schools. But people don't know the how. How did you do it? And what was the process?
Um, Drive, focus, determination. Don't be discouraged. You know what you want, right? You don't look back. You just flint. Keep your eyes on the prize, and start early. That's the one thing I tell people. I started early. I was intentional. I didn't stumble into these things. This was my vision. This was my goal. Right from when they were in maybe second grade, I already knew this is what I wanted for them. So,
So can you tell us practically what are some of the actual things that we could learn and start implementing today, like the things that you did with them?
okay, so first and foremost, extra curriculum. A lot of these schools, it's not just about the academics. Like, I mean, everybody has straight A's. So what is it that makes your child distinct from the next child? Why would Harvard find your child interesting? If aside from having a perfect score or perfect A. So extracurriculum is very important. So you start early, like the piano, for instance, whatever it is, violin, whatever it is. But beyond that, also just preparing the children to be disciplined. And that is some of the things that piano lessons taught my children, discipline. Because they come home from school every day, they sit down, they must practice for at least 45 minutes every day. That was not just me grooming them musically, that was also me grooming them to be disciplined, in what they do. So yeah, so a lot of extra curriculum and the typical Nigerian mother, you cannot bring home bees, Again, I tell people, if your child is just capable of B's and you're pushing them to have A's, then you're being cruel to the child. So in working with your child, you should also know their capacity. These girls were gifted. I knew that. So pushing them to come home with A's wasn't me being cruel or being unrealistic. So push your child within the confines and the limits of what they can do. So these are some of the things that worked for me. And I also tell people, another thing that really, really helped me in my journey was that my children and I were kind of isolated. And when I say isolated, I mean that I didn't have a lot of relatives. You know what I mean? So a lot of times it was just me and them. I didn't have visitors coming from Nigeria, because I know that for some immigrant homes, you have like people coming almost every week to stay with you and blah, blah. So it kind of throws your routine off. But I didn't have all of those external distractions like, oh, Auntie so and so has come from Nigeria. I have to driver shopping, and then I can't sit down with my children and make sure they do homework and practice the piano and be in bed at 8 o'clock, which I did diligently. My children were in bed at 8 every night. They read every night. They played their piano every night. So I didn't have all of those distractions. So in as much as that I felt isolated and lonely, but honestly, it helped me in the long run to achieve the things that I wanted to achieve with my girls.
Wow, very powerful. Like the structure you laid around them and it's paying back. For those who don't know, where are your kids now schooling and what's their career, not their career path, the educational path? And I know it's something you're very proud of. Can you just share, that pride with us?
Okay, so my older daughter, Ketando, goes to MIT, studying computer engineering. And my younger daughter goes to Cornell. She's studying sociology en route to law school. And they're both there on full ride scholarships, means
Wow.
I don't pay a dime for these schools. And it is such an enormous blessing.
Right, right. And I could tell you that a lot of people are saying, how did Joy do it? Joy, please teach us. Joy, show us how you do it. And you are a parent coach. For those that want to, learn from you, say, hey, please, Joy, just give me the footprint of what you did. How can people find you, work with you? What programs do you offer?
So I every once in a while, maybe every quarter, I try to organize these. Well, I will do them via Zoom. Well, the last one I did was in December, and both my girls were there. People asked us questions about how to get their children en route to Ivy League schools, and we answered questions. And then sometimes I also coach parents one on one. So anyone is interested, and I mean, I could talk to them. We'll sit down and chat about that.
Definitely. So if you would like to contact Joy, please let us know. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to her directly, and she says she'll be open to working with other moms. Talk to us about your book. We talked about that book, and I know a lot of people are asking, where can we find the book? The book is not on Amazon. How do they get the book for those that need the book?
Okay, so it's not. I haven't officially launched it. The launch date is actually 14th of next month, and it's going to be on Amazon by the 20th. So please bear with me. It's gonna be right. I promise you, it's gonna be there on the 20th of August. And if you do want to pre-order, there's a link. I sent you the link.
Right. So the
So
link is in the comment section for those who need to pre-order, and that's what's displaying right here. Just look for a comment there by Immigrant Mom. The link I'm directing you to PayPal, and you'll be able to purchase the book. Because we're about 8 minutes to the hour, this is the perfect time for anyone who has questions to drop them. I'll ask Joy one or two more questions, but please send your questions and have her tell you a little more, maybe about her journey, about her parenting style, about child education strategies. But this is the good time to post your question. Joy, you endured domestic abuse, domestic violence, and you are a strong advocate today. There are a lot of women, immigrant women, who are suffering in their homes being abused. Can you just share one powerful word to help a woman in that situation?
you don't have to remain there. You don't have to. You don't have to be scared about what will become of you when you leave. You can leave. And when you leave, you'll be fine. I left and I'm fine. Don't let any fear hold you back. There's so much ahead of you. There's so much you can be. There's just so much you can achieve. So please do not be scared. You don't have to. You don't have to endure that one another day. You don't have to live like a second class citizen another day. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to be free. So I'm telling you now that it's time to pick up yourself, pick up those ashes, and live for yourself and for your children.
And a lot of things we're going to talk about, like deportation and immigration, which are things that a lot of us face. But because of the interest of time, we cannot go into depth. But I really encourage everybody to pre-order that book because there are too many lessons in here. Joy, as modest as we see her here, is an epitome of resilience. If there was another name for joy, it would be resilience, because you have really embodied that, that word through the experiences that you have been through. But is there anything that you feel you could have done differently throughout your journey up until now?
Um, Funny that I would say this, but I'm grateful for the two beautiful girls that came out of my marriage. But I would say that if I was going to choose a life partner now, I would choose very differently. Because the truth is that the signs of abuse were there even before we tied the knot. They were there. And in my naivety, or just because no one told me, that these are the red flags, I walked into this marriage like almost blind. So if I had to do it again, I would do it very differently. But I thank God for the two beautiful children that came out of it. I would not even, I wouldn't change anything for them.
Right. Yesterday, coincidentally, my siblings and I were talking about how a person's spiritual life should never be a reason why you marry someone. Look beyond that. Joy was married to a pastor. Let's take a few minutes and just touch on that subject so it's coming from someone other than me. Why a person's spiritual life should not be the major indicator of whether it's a good relationship or not.
If I were to summarize what you just said, and I've always said that, I've said that to a lot of women. I say to them, a wicked man, a wicked unbeliever would only end up being a wicked Christian, and a kind unbeliever would always end up being a kind believer. So it doesn't even matter. At the end of the day, it has nothing to do with how spiritual they are or how much they speak in tongues. A good person essentially is just good. It has nothing to do with how many scriptures they quote and all of that. There are so many good men out there that are not Christians, but they're good to their wives. So that is my lesson. That it doesn't mean anything. It
Right.
doesn't it doesn't change essentially who a person is. It just doesn't.
And that's a discussion for another day that I really love to have because for a very long time, young girls, including myself, in the church wanting to please God, put that as number one. He needs to be in the church and speaking in tongues and serving as a leader. And, this is a different platform, but a good opportunity to say that, don't pay attention to things that have nothing to do with you, like a person's spiritual life. That's between them and God. Look
Yeah,
at how they treat you. Look at their character around you. And I've said it over and over again. The first thing on your list cannot be whether he goes to church, what church he goes, how he does in church. The first
precisely.
thing is compatibility. And I'm happy you mentioned that.
Yeah.
All right. So we have one question before we go. How did you manage not to become bitter in spite of all life has thrown at you? I know firsthand because you helped me through one of my life's toughest times. I really appreciate you. How were you not bitter?
Hi, it was really nice to see you on here. Thank you so much for coming up. So, for the longest time I was angry, especially when I was a teenager. I was angry. I was bitter, I was angry, I was defensive. I felt like the world was against me, like I just felt like the whole world was against me. But you know what? When you carry that burden for so long, it starts to wear you down. And so one day I went to church. I said, God, this is wearing me down. This burden is gonna kill me if I don't let go of it. So I remember I actually like took that burden and I removed it from off my shoulders and I placed it at the altar. I said, Lord, you know what? I'm tired of being angry. I'm tired of being bitter. I'm tired of being resentful. It was killing me. So as soon as I did that, I just never looked back again. And he's been good to me, in spite of everything. He's just been good to me. So there's no space in my life for bitterness. What am I being bitter about? I'm winning. You know
Right.
what I mean? If I wasn't winning, then it would have been a different ballgame. But I'm winning. So why would
Right.
I be bitter? You know?
Oh, that's amazing. We're going to talk about your purpose in your pain and all of that, but we'll leave for another session when you can come back and, spend some more time with us here at the Immigrant Mom. Before we let you go, I would like you to speak from your heart to a mother who is an immigrant, maybe in the US, in Canada, somewhere else, with little children who just needs some courage. Speak from your heart like you were talking to your little sister or a little woman or, anyone who needs to hear you out.
You know, the one thing I'll say to you is that I know that it's not easy. I came to this country. Both girls were under 6. Okay, one was 6 and the other one was just almost 5. But anyway, they were both like 6 and below, and it was hard. You know, it was. I mean, I remember many times I'll sit at the kitchen counter when they had gone to bed, and I'll cry my heart out. So, but look at me today. It's they're grown, they're gone. It's so. What am I saying? It's going to be all right. Hang in there. Don't despair. Don't give up. There's light at the end of that tunnel. You're not always going to have babysitter problems, or you're not going to always have, oh, the kids are home alone and the police are coming. I went through all of that. I know exactly what those things are. But I'm just here to tell you that it's going to be all right. Before you know it's going to be over. They'll be in high school, they'll be in college, and then it's the sun will shine again. So please don't despair and don't give up. Hang in there. You're
Right.
going to be all right.
Right, right. Thank you so much. You have shared so much with us tonight, and I'm so grateful to everybody who is navigating this journey. Find a community and be a part of a community. It is extremely difficult to do this, to be an immigrant mom, an island all by yourself. You will find another mom doing certain things a certain way, and then you will learn. You would see that, oh, there's something called chartered schools. I didn't know about chartered schools. Maybe there's an option for chartered schools. There's an option for this and an option for that. That's the village that we are creating here since we're away from our own villages in raising our children. So I'll just share with you, Sister Joy, all the thank you messages that are coming through from the audience. Sophie says, thank you.
Thank you.
He takes it all. Thank you for sharing. It's so powerful. There's another thank you right there for you.
Thank you.
Nicole says, thank you.
Thank you.
Ada
Oh,
says, thank you for
thank
sharing.
you.
You're an inspiration, Sister Joy. This is my favorite part with everybody just reading all their thanks. Yes, you are winning. Stay winning, sis. Yes, you are winning. Yes.
Yes,
And on and on. Thank you so much, Sister Joy.
thank you.
We look forward to more coming from you, your book, your stories, and to help other women overcome what you have overcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us on this session. We're going to be back 2 Thursdays from today. Look out for the ticket, for the registration link that will come out tomorrow for our event on September 11th. And thank you all. Have a great Thursday, a great weekend. And until next time, this has been Excel. God bless you.